is normal that all of us somehow at some point seek validation. Now, often people seek external validation, but ideally that validation should come from within ourselves through self-validation. Because self-validation is an essential and sustainable key to continuously growing confidence. Now, before we dive into a couple of points about this topic, self-validation is not only giving yourself a tap on the shoulder when you did something right. Much more, it's accepting and analyzing our internal experiences like thoughts or emotions to build strong character strength and identity. Besides that, I've also noticed that it's the best way to get to know yourself better and the way you really are, not what you want other people to see or what your insecurities are made of. By turning self-validation into a habit, you naturally grow confidence and self-esteem. And on top of that, it helps you manage your emotions, label them correctly, and deal with them in an appropriate manner. Now, the overall goal or the moral that you should take from this video is that you should hold your own self-validation to such a high standard that the importance of other people's opinions completely fades away. Sounds about right to me? Let's dive right in. Before anything, why do we even seek validation? It is not your fault that you seek validation. Validation, in my opinion, is one of the most underrated forms of love in showing someone that they did something correctly. If you didn't get enough validation or attention or love or confirmation externally, for example, during your childhood, that might affect your overall confidence and longing for external validation later on in life. So that perfectly explains why you might not be as confident. If that's the case with you, I'm very sorry that you're in that place. It is not your fault, it is not your responsibility, but it is your responsibility to take your life into your own hands and try to rewire your brain. Now, there are different kinds of validation that we could be seeking. For example, there's emotional validation. You need another person to validate how they feel about you because you don't trust your gut. And I mean, no offense, but if this is you, you might be a little toxic, needy, desperate. I don't know, just trust your gut and also accept that if the other person doesn't feel the same way, there's 8 billion other people. Who cares? Why should you care? Doesn't matter if it's a friend or a love interest. If they don't see your value, they're not meant for you. Never force a connection. Another type of validation is academic validation. You think that your academic performance, your grades define your worth, who you are. If you get an A+, you think you're cool, you're on top of the world. If you get an F the next week, you think your life is over. There's so much wrong with the modern day education system, so don't even get me started on that. But don't let your performances also outside of school define who you are. You might be seeking romantic validation, very similar to emotional validation. You might be seeking social media validation. You let likes, followers, views, popularity of a certain post define who you are and how much you or that post is worth. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what's wrong with that. And then there's also familial validation. You let family members or friends cross boundaries. You go out of your way to please them just because you want to be accepted by them and you want their validation, that you're good enough, that you're loved, that you're worthy. So I think it's pretty safe to say that all of these external types of validation are pretty harmful to your self-esteem, and they completely clash with the concept of self-worth and believing in yourself. So why do so many people still seek external validation? You have to understand that external validation is probably the easiest way to betray yourself, because you tell yourself or your subconscious that other people's opinions are more valid than your own. You don't allow yourself to be confident in your decision-making process, and you are unsure how you feel about certain things. Doesn't matter if it's a picture or a situation. You're not confident in your decision-making process because you will always allow someone else's voice to get to you and influence what you actually feel like, and you're unsure if what you're feeling is actually okay. Simplified, you don't trust yourself. And the big problem with always going after external validation is that you place the engine of self-love, self-worth, self-value, self-confidence outside of yourself because you let someone else define value, define priorities, define emotions because you're so used to your own opinion not being good enough. And if you take a step back and maybe even watch that part about external validation again, you will realize that it makes no sense, and it's perfectly clear why it's not sustainable, because you will always allow someone else to have the power over how you live your life. Now, when it comes to self-validation, honesty is probably one of the most important important points. You have to honestly acknowledge everything. Acknowledge your successes. Allow yourself to appreciate when you've done something right. Accept your failures. Try to learn from them. Acknowledge your strengths, your weaknesses. Get to know yourself and know your limits. Always try to treat yourself kindly. There's no use in self-harm or trying to bring yourself down in order to punish yourself for something. It's your first time living life and you're doing your best. Just try to think rationally and recognize a path that you can hold on to within the direction you're heading. Doesn't matter if it's long-term or short-term. If you're not fully honest with yourself, with everything you've been through, everything you can do, everything you cannot do, you will never grow comfortable with self-validation because it's nothing but a lie. You need to accept yourself with all your strengths and weaknesses. And the reason why it's so important to grow comfortable with self-validation, ideally turning it into a habit, is because that's when you become truly confident without even noticing. Again, because if you're not honest, it's like building a house on a shaky foundation. It's like you're building your life on a lie that you've told yourself and that you try to convince other people and yourself to believe. At one point, it's going to collapse and it's going to be brutal. So, no shaky foundations. Watch what the contractors are doing and find a stable home within yourself. Self-validation goes hand in hand with mindfulness. Some great ways to practice self-validation is to always be aware of your immediate surroundings. Try to not let the past or the future stress you out too much because that's just going to result in either regret or anxiety. You have to truly be mindful with your thoughts and the feelings you are experiencing in the moment. Another great way to practice self-validation is through honest reflection. Take a moment to analyze yourself. What are you experiencing? Label what you're going through. What I like to do is I take a moment for myself in whatever situation I'm in to analyze what I'm experiencing. I try to label my emotions honestly and correctly. I try to understand where they are coming from, doesn't matter if good or bad, and I try to learn from it. Honest reflection requires approaching and analyzing your internal experiences without judgment. It is so important that you don't judge yourself because otherwise you're starting from square one. Last but not least, a great way to practice self-validation is by using your history or your past experiences. Let your history encourage you. Take a look back when you're in doubt. Perfect example, when I record a singing video, when I record a YouTube video, when I perform in front of a couple of people. Sometimes, rarely, I get anxious, but I do get anxious and nervous sometimes. I look back, I tell myself, I recognize, and that's a fact. Done it before, I've succeeded before, it's no problem. There's no reason why it wouldn't work out right now. There's no reason to be nervous or anxious. I think it's pretty clear how that's a perfect example of how my past allows me to practice self-validation. And of course, another great way to use your history to do exactly that is by looking at past conflicts. Go over the situation again. You might not be happy with how you reacted back then, but see it as an opportunity to learn and grow. That's how you felt in that past moment, and that's okay. You'll do it better next time. Besides that, nothing but the present actually exists. The past is a seemingly endless collection of memories, and the future is what you make of it. Overall, a broad spectrum and a variety of emotions are what make us human, but tame the beast. I like to view emotions as a metaphoric dog. It's great, it's cute, but if you don't put it in school or tame it, it will do more bad than good in your home. And your home is your mind, your body. With the help of self-validation, you can train yourself to perceive even the most uncomfortable feelings and situations as no big deal. Because you've perfected acceptance and you don't allow the cup to overflow. Overreacting or impulse reactions do not exist for you. You have control over your mind and over your body because you are confident who you are and in every step you take. It definitely takes time and it's not easy to turn self-validation into a habit, especially if you used to compartmentalize a lot and if you're aware that you actually seek a lot of external validation. It's difficult to flip the switch, but it's far from impossible. It just requires work and it's a matter of priorities, but I believe in you. If you guys made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I loved looking into this topic. Definitely let me know your thoughts in the comments. See you soon and take care. Bye.